Don't touch that dial. You're tuned in to the Dread Podcast Network.
Welcome to Development Hell. For every horror movie that hits V.O.D, countless others end up D.O.A. Development Hell is the podcast dedicated to unearthing these cursed horror productions. We're going to find out what went wrong, and then decide if these titles still stand a shot at the green light. I am your host, Josh Korngut. I am the managing editor of Dread Central. I am also a filmmaker in Toronto, Canada. This podcast is a proud member of the Dread Podcast Network. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Development Hell. So, as you know, we usually tackle unmade horror movies on this podcast, but every once in a while, we go in a different direction, like covering a film festival or even doing a horror movie review, and that's what we're going to be doing today. But it's a little bit different because today is the first episode of Development Hell in Review. So how is this different from our previous review episodes? It's not, but now I'm like making them, an event. I'm tying them together. I like to do that. We are covering the film, The Rule of Jenny Penn, which is in theaters now from IFC Films and Shudder. And we are joined yet again by a returning guest, Chad Collins. He is a Dread Central staff writer, a novelista, a professor, and a Development Hell frequenter. Chad, will you reintroduce yourself to our audience?
I would love to, and thank you so much for having me back for the inaugural in review episode.
Yeah.
Feel very honored to be here.
Yeah.
I'm a staff writer at Dread Central. I wear many different hats, snapbacks, beanies, and also professional hats as well. It is a pleasure to be here to talk about The Rule of Jenny Penn.
We love having you on the podcast, Chad. I was thinking we didn't talk about if we were going to go deep into spoilers. So I've made the decision that, yes, we're going to do spoilers, but we're going to keep it light. I don't know, grow a pair, it's fine. We're just going to spoil it a little bit. So yeah, we're going to talk about The Rule of Jenny Penn. When I was writing this outline, I got really excited because I called it old folk horror, right? Horror, right? I was so impressed with myself. So before we get into this movie, I want to ask you, what are some other films in the subgenre of old folk horror, and how does Jenny Penn sort of make its impact in that little,
So the one that kept pretty regularly coming to mind was 2020's Relic. And Relic was, I think, much sadder. It was a lot more heartbreaking. And The Rule of Jenny Penn, I think, is a lot more mean-spirited. It certainly has something to say, but it's not quite as tender in the way it goes about it. It's definitely a movie that kind of bludgeons you pretty regularly with the horror of aging.
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah, that's a beautiful film, Relic. I believe we just included it on the official Dread Central's top 20 movies of the 2020s so far.
Deserves it.
Right? I've never seen it. I'm trying to think, what other horror movies are in this? It's a small subgenre. I didn't really do any research, so I'm sure there's many, many out there. Of course, there's the classic, nouveau classic, Old by M. Night Shyamalan, truly tackling the fear of aging real fast. Have you seen that one?
I saw it in theaters.
Are you one of the apologists for it? I feel like
I am a huge Shyamalan apologist, yes. And I don't even want to conceptualize it as an apologist. I think I just recognize already what everyone in time will come to see, which is that he is one of our greatest living filmmakers.
It's really brave of you and not wrong.
It's not.
But some of the movies are so bad, but incredible and camp, but horror, heinous. And no, okay, The Happening wasn't a comedy. Don't gaslight me. and then tell me that it's raining. There was also that movie, I think, literally called Old People. I think it was like a Netflix original from like Argentina or something a couple years ago. Charade did a review on it. I think it was particularly like brutal. Like old people were just like kind of going crazy and eating everybody else. Yeah, I mean, and they do. They do.
I did not catch that one. I additionally thought of The Taking of Deborah Logan, which you will love. That filmmaker then entered the Insidious universe because of Deborah Logan.
Wait, it's in the Insidious universe?
Oh, but that film springboarded into an offer for The Last Key.
Oof. Don't know. But I see why they did it. Like, I see why they did it, but truly the worst Insidious movie.
Yeah.
All the other ones I like quite a bit, even the last one. It doesn't matter. I got an email. I might cut this out. I sent Sony an email not long ago because I was kind of mad at them for like not giving us any information about Hard Eyes. And I was like, we're such a big website. Why aren't we getting news or something? And like, nobody responded to me. But then I did get this like invite to a screening. Since then, I'm now on this like weekly mailing list that like updates me on all of like these massive releases and their release dates. And a lot of them are not public info. So I don't think I'm supposed to be on this one. I now know like the official release date for an upcoming Insidious film. I know the release date for the upcoming Resident Evil movie. I didn't even know that was like happening, but it is. So yeah, isn't that fun? Isn't that crazy? I asked her Beth if we could like do news, and she's like, "No, we can't.
Don't touch that.
Don't touch. No."
He's gonna come for you.
But it's like, we could do it under your name, so like they're not gonna connect it. They never would. They're gonna hear this. Listen, I'm supposed to be on this email list. It's actually for movies coming out in Canada, but you know, it's always the same. Okay.
Let me ask you quickly. It has started to rain. Are you picking that up or no?
Not even a little bit, but if we do, I love it.
Okay. Well, as long as you're not, that's fine.
We had an episode with Jinx once, the famous Jinx.
Famous Jinx.
I think it was raining either for him or for me, and we were doing like an unmade Friday the 13th, and it was beautiful. 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 So good. Okay, wait. One more thing I want to talk about old folk horror is I kind of like, you know, like the joke of A24 just like putting naked old people and stuff to like make it grim and grisly. I do kind of think that is a bit of a modern trope for a reason. Like that is something we've been doing. Naked old people are scary.
Now that you say it, I don't know that I've ever thought about it, but immediately I thought of like 4 A24 movies that really do just feature naked old people simply because they're naked and old.
I guess Midsummer's the big one, but like I think It Comes at Night definitely does it. What else?
Hereditary has it.
What am I talking about? Of course, Hereditary does it. Hereditary is the king of that. So,
hey,
yeah. And it's like kind of like reductive. It's like, yeah, we get it. Like old people are shrivelly and like.
I did not ever see The Front Room, but I bet you that woman gets naked.
Oh, for sure. I never saw it either, which is crazy because I should have seen that. A brandy like C-tier A24 horror movie.
No one saw it.
I know, but we did do an ad sale campaign for it on Dread Central, so it must have been highly successful as a film. Yeah, in terms of where Jenny Penn lies amongst all of those is, you know, like, it's really... God, people get so mad when we throw the word prestige around, but this is, like, very serious, at times, like, I don't know, high-quality drama. It sets itself apart from a lot of different horror because of that. Like, there's no supernatural element. It's really just hinged on 2 really phenomenal performances. And if you want to look at it as just like a grim realism drama, like it could, I think, be that. You know, people are scary. What is this goddamn movie about? So sometimes I don't tell you and I just like make you answer this. Do you remember that? Has that happened to you before? Or do I want to do it? I think I'm going to do it today. Are you okay with that?
Who's doing it?
I'm going to do it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Why are you yelling at me?
All I heard was, I think, going to do it today.
Now you're... So the Jenny Penn, let's see if I can do this. Okay, so it stars Jeffrey Rush, and he is, at the very beginning of the film, this very successful, sort of hard-hitting judge who has a lot of autonomy, a lot of control, and he has a stroke, a really bad stroke, and right away it sends him to this long-term care facility, I believe in New Zealand or Australia, where it takes place, one of the two. And overnight, this successful and intimidating person has lost complete autonomy, has lost complete control. And we're sort of with him for the horrors of sort of like coming to grips with that. So not only are we dealing with that whole world of human horror, but on top of it, there is this antagonistic psychopath that also lives at the long-term care facility, played by Mr. John Lithgow. His name is Dave in the film, who, gains pleasure from terrorizing and dominating everyone else at this facility. And he does it with the help of his hand puppet, a baby doll, bald and plastic, by the name of Jenny Penn. It sounds absurd because it is absurd, but that's where like the humor and the horror definitely start to build. Our Jeffrey Rush character, doesn't take him seriously at first. He's very used to like putting people like this in their place, but it becomes pretty evident that, because of Jeffrey Rush's like lack of being able to move around, John Lithgow is like a lot of control and a lot of influence of the nurses and everyone else working there, and can kind of turn the whole environment on Jeffrey Rush, who's a lot less likable and seems like an unreliable narrator. So this is the world that we're dealing with, and things progress, and Jenny Penn is an icon. How did I do?
Fantastic.
I love it. Okay, general thoughts on Jenny Penn for you. Just like, what's in your head?
I was a big fan of the role of Jenny Penn. One, Jenny Penn herself, fantastic. I would say she is a supporting player in herself. Phenomenal performance, so expressive, so menacing, so sinister.
Very scary, very scary.
And I think it wasn't until afterwards that I realized James Ashcroft had previously done Coming Home in the Dark. And when that was shared with me, I said, that makes so much sense.
Keep telling me that. I've actually never seen it. So can you tell me just like a little bit about it for context? Because I feel like I need that.
It is very grim. I'm going to do a quick.
Let's do a quick, because I don't know what it's about. I mean, I never saw it, so why would I? As someone that has seen it, it's interesting that, you don't.
Okay. I just had to confirm something quickly. Yeah, so in effect, you've got this family. They are on a little road trip. They stop lakeside, fun family picnic. They're approached by two men who subsequently spend the remainder of the film menacing them, kidnap them. It's very dark. It's very brutal. It is also very matter of fact. It doesn't use a lot of like stylistic flourishes or anything of the sort. It's simply this family being systematically tortured for the movie. I believe so.
I love that.
It gets very grim.
Where does it like align at all with Speak No Evil tonally?
It's much less funny. So it's Speak No Evil without any of the humor or any of the absurdity, where I think Speak No Evil, as frightening as I found it to be, definitely has that kind of like augmented reality where I'm like, this is close to real, but not quite. Coming from the Dark is much more grounded in the verisimilitude of this is theoretically what might actually happen if this family were targeted and killed by two wandering psychopaths.
That sounds like a fun watch. I don't know what's with Australians and New Zealanders, like they're kind of like the French. They like make some nasty shit. Like it's always something with them. Like we had that trilogy with what's his face Mick with the you're just the head on a stick or whatever. No, it's Head on a Stick movie, which I still don't really understand the head on the stick stuff. Like I don't get what that meant, but I'll figure it out. And then there was one that Mary Beth reviewed last year that was like, I don't know, like it's called like Brutalized or something. It was just like the most disgusting movie you'll ever do.
I know. Yeah, I do. That was harrowing.
But when you saw it, see, that's to me what this sort of like cultural horror impact is. Although I do love The Loved Ones.
Loved Ones is very good.
How did he go from The Loved Ones to The Devil's Candy? How do you do that? How does that happen? You don't know? Did we talk about this recently?
But I'm not a Devil's Candy fan.
It's just very mask for mask, Like I don't need that. I don't need to see that.
You're gonna have to cut this part.
Oh, I don't want.
Been a big Ethan Embry fan.
Oh, controversial. Ethan Embry, star of what's that Netflix show about the old ladies? And they're like, one's rich and one's kooky. Come on, they're both really famous in real life. And it's something and something. Grace and Frankie. Got it. He's the star of Grace and Frankie. He plays
really?
Yeah, he's Grace. No, he's one of the kids. The kids on it. And that's my go-to Ethan Embry for some reason. Is that
Grace and Frankie is the go-to Netflix original for every gay man over the age of 30.
It isn't that bad.
Yes, it is.
No, I was gonna say it isn't that bad. You could be right. And it's also like from the people that made Friends, so it has that like millennial.
Right, I couldn't get into it.
I don't suggest it. It's fine. Yeah, Ethan Embry. Oh, isn't he also the star of some shit we like? Pretty sure he's in They.
killed pretty quickly.
Yeah, he's always like someone's like brother that everyone thinks is on heroin, but really is just being hunted by ghosts or something. That's my impression of him. Yeah, I should cut this, but maybe I won't. This is why you're getting, the deep cuts on the Patreon. Actually, this is not Patreon. This is main feed. Hey, stop. He thinks he does a good New Zealand Kiwi accent, and he does, but there's nothing that's good about doing that.
I feel validated.
It is. It's pretty good. Okay, general thoughts from me on Jenny Penn. Fucking love this movie. This movie is so bizarre. It's kind of like, I hate saying this, but unlike anything else I've seen in recent memory, just because, first of all, this is a movie about old people and not, I was going to say not in the way that we're used to, but I don't think there is a way that we're used to. We don't see movies about old people. I'm kind of obsessed with them. Like, they're all so iconic, at least in terms of like our Hollywood A-listers, which we have 2 of here. I don't know, there's something about watching, older people being treated like humans that's like, I don't know, cool. And it's always a perspective that I'm like down to sort of hear from. And these 2 are just like, I don't know, they're fucking killing it in this. John Lithgow is just like so good. I know everyone's like, oh, this horror movie should get an Oscar or whatever. Like, in another world, this is a role that I think, could get like a nomination of some kind. Obviously it won't, but would you agree that he's like the breakaway here?
Absolutely. I think him and Jenny Penn should both be up earnestly. I'm not kidding about
Jenny Penn. I think
supporting actress nom, but John Lithgow is genuinely phenomenal. And I get what you're saying, because since James Ashcroft has a background as a playwright, like John Lithgow has good material. Like when we talk, like I also am not thrilled with like the idea of like, prestige horror, because what does it really mean? But like there's pedigree that we don't usually get.
Yes, pedigree, skill, talent. Like it's just like we're getting the cream of the crop. It's like in pop music where like the more money you have, you like there's just one big list of pop songs that like people pull from, and you get the best pop song if you're at the top. What am I talking about? Before we get too deep in the weeds, which we already are, I also kind of want to take a moment to think about like toy horror, doll horror, like that kind of a shtick, and also consider where this film lies among them all. When I say toy or doll horror, what comes to your little brain?
So 2 key ones, both of which are very different, but both of which I think there's some interplay here with Jenny Penn. Dolls, of course, from 1987, I think, just in the sense that dolls are innately creepy, very sort of oppressive gothic atmosphere, but also Anthony Hopkins' magic. I think the psychology of it all. I had gone into Jenny Penn expecting something more supernatural just from the trailer, and certainly that wasn't the case. And I think that's very magic coded, where there's sometimes maybe that impression or suspicion that there's something else going on, but really fundamentally it's just a man sort of losing his grip.
I was hoping you'd say magic because it was in my mind's eye, but I forgot the title of it. Yeah, I'd say it's probably one of the more like comparable entries to like toy horror to this film, just because it's just a guy kind of losing it, and it's just like an inanimate object. Obviously we've had The Monkey come out recently that I loved, which is also kind of like a more cerebral sort of take on toy horror. But how can we forget about Chucky? You can't. What, am I boring you, Chad? No, I'm kidding. It's late. It's late. You can yawn. Just do it off camera. I never saw Dolls, to be honest with you.
Dolls is such a you movie. You should.
I believe that. There was a good entry of the Overlook Motel. Our friend Tyler's video column.
Dolls has my favorite horror trope of all time, which is the unreasonably cruel and callous stepmother that nobody seems to care about, where she's actively abusing this poor girl. And just like, I love my new wife. I love my daughter. And I'm like, how are we not seeing how she's treating her?
Yeah, well, I think that we should get like a sequel that's all about the stepmother's perspective.
If she makes it.
Right. Yeah, doll horror, love it. This is obviously kind of a very different take on it, because I don't think it's a spoiler really, but the doll in this movie is just a doll. I don't think it ever really hints that it's more than that. I think the marketing is sort of being a little bit, a little bit.
I'd had going into it was that this doll would be more than a doll.
Yeah, because, well, the tagline for the movie is like, the rise of a new horror icon or something, because some reviewer called it that. Whatever, they get to say that. Someone said it about it, so they get to say it. Whatever. I love it. There is a moment where she grows really, really big. Remember that? Where you like the Jenny Penn doll head is huge. I love
Big Jenny Penn.
I got a message from the guy that created the Jenny Penn design and like made all the dolls, which I was very happy to hear from him because he like liked a piece or something. But my first thought was like, I thought they just like found it all. Like I didn't realize there was like a guy that was doing stuff. That means he did his job very well.
He did. One more similar film. Oh my gosh, I kept thinking of it and I forgot. Possum. Did you ever see Possum?
Yeah, you know what? I feel like I have because I've written about it so much. Because like in the era of Dread Central's like the most disturbing horror movie that will make you feel like you're dead. It's always in there, so I know it beat by beat. But no, I've never actually seen it.
Possum is bleak. Also has a puppet that regularly grows and moves, but isn't actually real.
Oh, that's so fucking scary. Yeah. Okay, people listening at home, I really do think, even though I haven't seen it, investigate this Possum film. Like, if you're someone that like likes to push your boundaries in terms of like freakish, disturbing horror, like this is.
I just wanted to.
Yeah, this is what I go to. I don't like spidery stuff.
No, that doll is scary. That possum puppet is horrifying.
Yuck. I also feel like that's also like what's with Europe, man. What's with Europe and Oceania?
Just sad.
Yeah, get it together. The atmosphere and the direction. It's pretty simple. It's pretty. I keep using the word realism. Would you think that kind of lands for you?
I think.
How did the atmosphere? How did the direction read to you? Was it anything special? Did it do what it was? It kind of just did what it needed to do. Where did it land for you?
I think it landed in that sense of it did what it needed to do, which is not, I think, a criticism. Some films, I think, thematically lend themselves really well to a lot of like technical flourishes, and I think other films really just, moving beat to beat is what works best. There were a few, I think, light spoiler, with the mental decline, cognitive decline of Jeffrey Rush's character. He regularly loses his grip on time and he kind of blips in from one moment out to another. And those, I think, were really nicely handled, where there's a very clear visual cue that he has blipped and sort of lost track of time. But otherwise, I think it does what it needs to do without sort of being distracting.
And like, pretty sure they all went into this film knowing or hoping that it would stand on the shoulders of these two performances, because like you have these two people, it's like if you have like the world's most expensive dress, you don't need to pair it with a bunch of jewelry. You just need a couple of diamond studs. That's all you need. It's a little bit no frills, but I think it definitely worked. Okay, I want to talk about the horror. There's a different like ways that this movie incorporated horror. We talked about before, like the horror of aging, the horror of like mortality, the horror of losing bodily autonomy. Was this movie scary to you? Did you like ever kind of feel like, oh, like I got Hereditary? It's like, what's going on?
Yeah. Soapbox time. Let me grab that and, my $1,000 Veep soapbox, get up on that. So, I know you're in this space, right? Whenever we talk about a movie being scary or a movie, the horror, you're always going to have those detractors or naysayers who say, well, this didn't scare me. And then inevitably, I think it invites the question, well, not only why didn't it scare you, but conceptually, like, what does it mean to you to be scared, right? And certainly in the sense of, things going bump in the night, Jenny Penn is not going to cause, fear in that sense, but it is going to cause, I think, some restless, sleepless nights, because there is an indifference sort of spotlighted here toward aging, this loss of our sort of cognitive abilities, losing our autonomy, and just this broader sense, I think, which really resonates, right? As someone who lives in the United States, knowing that, best case, right, we will all arrive at a point where we can have lived a very long, fulfilling life. And at a certain point, that will start to slip away. And I think it's a very distinctly Western attitude we have, where we treat the elderly as disposable. And there's this ongoing thread throughout Jenny Penn, I think, with some of the supporting players whose indifference or dismissal just, Jeffrey Rush's character and everyone in this care facility, they're going to die anyway. And it doesn't seem to matter really to anyone whether that's at the hand of something more sinister or just simply natural causes. And that thought, I think, is really just terrifying. And while it becomes very clear that, Jeffrey Rush's judge has very consciously kind of cultivated this isolation himself, it fundamentally is his fault in the way he opted to live his life. But just that thought of being alone in that moment and having no one to even share this fear with was existential and frightening. And I did walk away from it feeling very anxious and very just kind of numbed, and it was heavy, which to me is scary. That's true terror, right? This unknown sense of this is the horror of reality.
That was very beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you summed it up really beautifully. It's a horror movie, and the real horror here is definitely like the horror of, I think you said it, like becoming disposable in old age, because we just don't prioritize, we don't value old people, at least not like some other parts of the world do. And I think part of that is our own fear of like just not wanting to see it. We don't put it in movies. We don't talk about it with our family. We don't really want to, like, we'll watch Art the Clown scalp people, but we don't want to see old people rotting away because it's a bummer. And like, it's kind of also like kind of inescapable too, the way that we have it set up out there. And I'm never going to have a kid because I'm gay. So I'm really screwed.
Jenny Penn will take
care of me, all right. Yeah. Were there moments that scared you? You're like, okay, so yes, there's the big existential sort of intangible horror. We get it. What about like any moments that went, oh my God?
So Jenny Penn herself, I think anytime she appeared, I was first celebratory. I was like, Jenny Penn, go get it.
Yeah,
but then,
me too.
You know, the horror, right, John? Like, anytime he appeared on screen, he was very villainous, and I think he did it very well. And it's framed pretty regularly, you know, with these kind of late night creep-ins where he, after staff, everyone has gone to bed, is when he will arrive in someone's room to menace them with the doll. In those moments, it's tethered to the broader existential horror of having no autonomy or control. But those moments were very horror-coded, right? Because you have this villainous character and you have these very vulnerable victims, and that tension of what's going to happen here, how is this going to play out? And some of those just classic, I think, thriller tropes, right? There's a scene late in the film, right, where Jeffrey Rush is kind of sneaking into rooms, right? And there's that tension of, is he going to get out in time before he's caught? So I think it has both of those kinds of moments, right? This kind of broader existential fear, but also just very classic thriller tropes.
Yeah.
Where you are just waiting for the bomb to go off.
I mean, and it kind of ends with like kind of like a classic thriller. Like we have like an action-based climax in the film that's kind of like almost traditional. I will say this is where the film, like for me, stops, you know, being able to be a 5-star film. Is it does eventually kind of lose its footing. I do think the ending was a little bit I won't give away what the ending is, but I do think it's a little bit abrupt. Like, I think, like, yes, it's in line with what would happen in this film, but I think it kind of comes out of nowhere and is, unlike the rest of the film, which is, like, really doing things that maybe I've never seen before. I think when it hit the landing, you know, it's something that we're familiar with. It's a type of finale you've seen many times before. But whatever, this is like a very small little horror movie, and it's a miracle that it does what it does. Is there anything about this film that you like want to take a big shit on?
I'm going to give me an earnest second to like think. I think I'm going to echo your sentiments, not just with the ending, but I think sort of the third act, because it is definitely building, I think, towards something. And I'm never one, right, who necessarily needs a movie to have like a big message or to kind of wrap things with a very clear, meaningful finality, but it's definitely introducing very deliberately a lot of key themes, and they just don't necessarily come together fully at the end. It shifts very much into that very traditional thriller ending territory that then left me kind of questioning some of the other questions that were introduced, right, that are just kind of left there dangling then. And it's through no fault of Jeffrey Rush's character, but his arc kind of flatlines at a certain point, and then we are just kind of seeing bite-sized replications of some of the thrills we'd seen before. And instead, they're not serving some larger purpose. They're simply there to move us to this conclusion that we need to arrive at, which felt a little arbitrary, I think, because it definitely stretches the credulity of it all toward the end there, too. It's very, I think, grounded and realistic. This kind of like gaslight supreme, you know, no one believes him. But, you know, as the stakes escalate, I did certainly arrive at a point of, I'm losing a little bit of faith now in this care facility and this man's capacity to continue to Jenny Penn.
Agree, but whatever. Like, I think it's very difficult to land an ending.
So inconsequential.
It is because it just everything that it's doing in the first two acts are just so interesting and important and like out there that like, oh well, you know, it doesn't really detract too much for me. And ultimately, like even those first two acts, as you know, good as they are, they're weird and they're silly and they're like kind of funny and they're kind of campy sometimes too. So it kind of all makes sense in the wash at the end. It kind of reminds me a little bit, I'm talking about Lithgow's antagonist, like a little bit of Pennywise. Like there's a scene where he does a dance for everybody and he's like keeping his knees up in the air and it's like kind of very clownish in like a funny but like way.
I agree. And Pennywise, I think, is a really apt comparison too, because very famously, you know, as a King aficionado, not everyone is always thrilled with how Pennywise is ultimately defeated. And I do think it's just sometimes an innate problem in having such a memorable, noteworthy, and unconventional villain that you're never going to kind of resolve that conflict in a way that's going to work for everyone.
Yeah, the book doesn't do it well, the miniseries doesn't do it well, the movies don't do it well, but we love all of them, or at least I do, except for it part 2, like whatever. So they can't land the ending. Why should Jenny Penn? All right.
Jenny Penn chapter 2.
Okay, well, how dare you?
Years later, 27 years later, I'm sorry.
I was like, what? Because emailing the PR people, and I really wanted to make a Jenny Penn like 2 joke, and I really had to stop myself. But I'm like, what would it be called? What is it? Like, The Revenge of Jenny Penn really comes to mind. Like, I would watch that.
Okay, here's my pitch.
Okay.
See The Boy 2.
I didn't see The Boy 2.
Okay, so this is my pitch, right? We've got The Boy.
Yeah.
You see The Boy.
Of course.
Brom the doll is not real. He is
He's a big scary man.
by a big scary man in the wall. Shifts very firmly into supernatural territory.
Oh, to watch it.
Brom the doll is menacing
Katie Holmes.
and the doll is haunted.
Okay.
Find the doll just like buried in the woods, and the doll is actually a supernatural Annabelle doll.
That's
so
good.
Propose Jenny Penn Pal, the sequel.
Oh.
Penn Pal, and a young girl finds this Jenny Penn, and as horror movie kids do, right, she's got an attachment to it, despite the fact that it's innately creepy.
Yeah, because she's cool.
And it's menacing her family supernaturally, and that's where we get the supernatural Jenny.
Jenny too good. That's like no one's gonna greenlight that because it's like too smart, you know?
It is, yeah. I mean,
I do like it.
Just I will take any number.
You know what? Why were we struggling to think of doll or like fucking toy horror? Because we have Annabelle that was recent. We have fucking Megan that was recent. It's non-stop. Oh my god! I finally watched Imaginary.
What did you think? As an imaginary defender over,
I know. I was thinking of you. You know, I liked it more than my friend did. I sure did.
All I can ask for.
Kind of liked it. It's garbage, but I like some of it. I like the stupid old lady. She was my favorite.
I mean, honestly, toy horror, teddy bear, fantastic. Thank you for not doing another porcelain Victorian doll. And giving me a new kind of scary toy.
No, they've never done, or at least I don't think so, and I really would like to see it as a child of the early 90s. Remember, like, yeah, you're secretly old, so you'll know. There used to be, like, porcelain clown dolls, but their bodies were, like, beanbag.
Yeah, and their legs dangled.
What the fuck were those?
I've seen those in antique stores, never IRL. That's beyond my time, Josh.
No, it's not.
It is that.
You are of the troll generation.
Ever.
Yes, you just pretend to be young, but he's not. Did we give our, like, no, we didn't. So to summarize, to give our overall, to say where we are and why, what are our star ratings for this film? Chad, let's start with you.
So for me, firm 8 stars. We'd probably bump it up, 4 out of 5.
Thinking we were doing out of 10 for a second there, because that's fine.
Yeah, who knows, right?
I don't.
Honestly, a big part of that is I usually go back, right? I revisit things at the end of the year and I kind of adjust some scores. Because I think time watches are always really hard to peg down because I think numbers can be arbitrary. And I recognize that IMDb, Letterboxd, just the nature of film criticism nowadays is all numbers. And that's what people want to know, right? What is its percentage on Rotten Tomatoes? What did you rate it? So say 4 out of 5, but it's like, what does that really mean?
Oh my God, we don't need an essay on
We don't.
Tangibility.
I like the Penny Pen. I think it rolls. I think you should go see her.
Yeah.
I think you should welcome her into your life.
Hey, Jenny. You know that song by Jennifer Lopez about being Jenny on the Block?
Yeah.
Incorporate it into this movie, guys. There are Jenny songs out there. Yeah, this is a 4 out of 5 for me as well. Definitely. All I do is I sit in my room and I think about what is going to be on my top 10 at the end of the year. And I would be very surprised if this one doesn't make it. There's already 2 movies out, like this and
make mine as well.
Hold on. How could it not? How could it not? How could it not? Is there anything else that came out this year that like you think is gonna hit for the list? Or I should look at my letterbox. Did you fans of the pod should know all about it already.
I could see that hitting for me.
Yeah, for sure. But it's not out yet, so we can't say. Yeah, I don't know why. I'm not even in my letterbox. I was looking at our website numbers and I was just disassociating.
I watched Smile 2 again this year. I think I can just put Smile 2 on my list again, right?
Hey, thank you. Because I feel like not enough people were being honest about how good Smile 2 was.
They were not. Even better upon a rewatch.
I mean, I'll probably never watch it again. No, I will. It's so fucking good. It's so good. And how is she so good in it? Princess Jasmine killed it. What's her name to me? I saw the worst movie of the year, definitely. It's not out. So never mind. Never mind. You'll find out another day. Maybe we'll do an episode on the worst movie of the year. Hard Eyes, what do you think of that?
I mean, I thought it was cute. I liked it. Thought it was really 90s, which was great.
Sure. Love it. I struggled to say it's a 3-star movie, but it is. But I don't know, man. The 2 leads had -- Celsius chemistry.
So I didn't rate it because Michael Kennedy follows me.
Who's that?
One of the writers of Hard Eyes.
Yeah.
Hard Eye, Freaky, It's a Wonderful Knife.
Never seen It's a Wonderful Knife. Freaky, who cares? Love Happy Death Day. Don't know if he had anything to do with that.
No.
Whatever. Still good. Okay, Chad. Well, that, I think, wraps us up. Before we get to the normal question of where can you be found online, I have a new question, which is, what are you up to now or next? What's going on?
Well, coming up, I think everyone should tune in to Dread Central for my forthcoming Panic Fest coverage. The end of the month into early April. Panic Fest isn't, it's not Sundance, it's not South by Southwest. But I think what Panic Fest does really well is it really is true indies. And there are some really fantastic, I think, gems that trickle out of there.
Mm.
And I always love having an opportunity because those are movies that you go into and you don't have anything attached to them, right? I mean, Steven Soderbergh can premiere Presence at Sundance and no one can have seen it, but you still know it's Steven Soderbergh, right? Where Panic Fest is it's just fresh, new voices, and there are some real winners there.
I mean, you know how I know that that's true?
How do we know that this is true?
My short film was in it in 2019. They said yes to the dress for me. I think that was the biggest festival we got into. But yeah, it's a good festival.
Fest.
Yeah, man, I like them too. Okay, speaking of Panic Fest, that movie that I couldn't remember the name of about Australian people just getting tortured, beaten to death. And I'm pretty sure it was a Panic Fest movie.
There we go, right?
Everyone go watch Beaten to Death. Pretty sure our editor-in-chief, Maribeth McAndrews, is on the poster. Not her picture, but her words. Okay, well, if you did want to be found on the internet, where could they find you?
You can find me still on Twitter at Chad is Collins and also on Letterboxd at Chad is Collins. And that works. I got some new Letterboxd followers the last time I was on the pod. So
wow. So you're following Chad, but you're not following this show or me? What is your priorities, people?
They're not going to follow me now that you told them I'm secretly old.
Yeah. Well, I had someone had to get the beach out there. There's something wrong with this beach. And I'm going to smash cut.
I'm going to have one of those really odd Wikipedia pages that a lot of old, golden age Hollywood actresses had, where their birth year.
Well, that's classic, Chad.
We're going to have a little EST period in front of it, estimated, but not.
You 100% have a Peter Pan thing happening, and you don't even want us to know, but I can tell. Why am I still recording? Thank you so much for listening to Development Hell. If you enjoy this podcast, then please do us a major favor of leaving us 5 stars and writing a positive review. It really makes all the difference in the world. We'll see you next week with a brand new episode of Development Hell.
Thank you for listening to the Dread Podcast Network.